Your uncle was on here for a while.
Bungalow Bill,
Yeah.
yeah, 2 terms, I think.
Hey, Troy.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's when Betty was the clerk,
Okay.
and they slept in separate houses.
We're good?
Did you see my message?
We're live, gentlemen.
Not the latest one.
We're live, gentlemen.
Yep.
Hot
mic.
mic.
Hot mic.
Oh,
yeah, I wrote
Yeah,
I
it's
see.
Brian recording that right
Good
there.
thinking.
I gotta find her, we gotta find her.
Okay.
We're live.
Okay.
Show you.
Sorry.
But yeah, it's a.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
To call to order the Finance and Administration Committee. May we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Erickson?
Here.
Mr. Morse?
Here.
Mr. Beggs?
Here.
Mr. Walker?
Here.
Mr. Hardy?
Here. I'd ask for approval of the meeting minutes from June 8th, 2023.
Make a motion to approve.
Support Walker.
Motion by Beggs, support by Walker. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carried. Are there any changes to the agenda?
We need to approval for the closed session minutes as well.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the closed session from June 8th.
Motion by Beggs,
Support Walker.
support by Walker. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carried. Hearing no changes to the agenda, I'd ask for approval of the agenda.
Did you want to?
Leave it on there.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
All right, go ahead. Never mind.
I'll make that motion, Morse, to approve the agenda.
Motion by Morris, support by
I'll support.
Beggs. Thank you. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carried. Do we have any public comment at this time for the Finance and Administration Committee? Hearing none, we'll move on. Mr. Maloney, Homeland Security Grant Program Intergovernment Agreement.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, good morning. So in your packet you have the annual grant performance approval, which is something that's gone on for years. This is the grant that gives us our Region 6 funds that we use to pay for our mass alerting system Code Red, which is also our software program accesses IPAWS for larger, more governmental planning when we want to send out messages. Those are different, but you have to use the same platform on there. So this is actually the agreement with our fiduciary. So there's always a lot of confusion because the wonderful grants are approved in October from the feds to the state. That's why this is the 2022 fiscal year, not the 23. So that gets approved to the state sends it through the fiduciaries, they go and adjust all the budgets for 13 counties in our region, and then it comes back to us for approval, which then funds get released after that. So that's why you're looking at a 2022 fiscal year on there, and that's a 3-year rotating grant. So every year I have 3 of these going on, so we're still working on 21. We're working at 20, 21, and 22. Next year it'll be 22, 23, 24, and it keeps going on in those funds that way. But that's why you're looking at the 22 in case there's any questions on that. In the previous years, looked through documentation, the board has approved the administrator designing those documents. I'm happy to answer any questions. There's no changes from the previous ones as I read through them, other than we will not know how much money that is until they're finished with those numbers. I can tell you in 2021 we got $17,038. In 20 we got $20,306.86. So you can do the math on where that's heading.
Any questions for Mr. Maloney? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Administrator Biard, MTA dues discussion.
So we received a copy of the dues notice, and it had significantly increased from the previous year by $2,000. I talked to Chairman Walker about that, and he asked me to reach out to the some of the other counties and see where they were with it and what they were planning on doing. Nuevo County hasn't done anything with it yet. Lake County stated that, their board decided that they are pulling out of MTA. Manistee is not a member. Clare County is not renewing theirs either. And then I also spoke with the county treasurer this morning, and she said that, it is a huge source for her, simply because they use, the attorneys that MTA uses for a lot of their issues and those types of things, and it saves the county money by not having to call ours, so.
Mr. Walker.
If I may. Mary Lou explained it to me, as we know, other than the city of Hart, the townships are the primary collector of taxes in the county. And that when there are questions about tax collection and questions about how they go, it's easier to go to the Michigan Township Association because they provide that information to all of the townships. And when they provide the information to Mary Lou on tax collection and disbursement of those taxes and everything, it's all done with the attorneys from the Michigan Township Association, and there's no billing for her to do that. She says that she understands how great the increase from $500 to $2,500 is, but she said she feels as though she saves that much money talking to people that are experts in the tax collection right through the Township Association.
Yes, Mr. Erickson.
Yes, and I did speak with Connie Cargill. Connie's on the state MTA, and you know, a lot of us have already gone to MTA meetings that are circulating throughout the county every other month. I've enjoyed them. Their participation has increased vastly, and in Connie and my conversation about this dues increase, it was stated that Mary Lou has used this extensively, and they have been promoting it extensively in all of the townships, and the participation is excellent amongst all of the supervisors, clerks. You know, Elbridge, they probably had 35 people there. They've had it out in Colfax, you know, like 25 people there. We went to Benona. Gosh, there might have been 35 people out in Benona that night we were there. So, you know, I understand the increase. Everything's going up. 500 was probably too low then, and they're just trying to adjust it so they can keep everything operating smoothly.
My issue with it was, one, the increase was large, and two, they are only, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't be members, because I know that Mary Lou uses it quite often and it's beneficial for us to go to the meetings. I just had an issue with the fact that when I got the explanation, it was that we the amount that we were paying is pretty much for the newsletter, and two, that the increase was only going to counties. So, but if the board is fine with remaining members, then we don't need to do anything else, and we'll get the invoice submitted and we'll be fine. But I just wanted to have a discussion with the board about that.
Mr. Morris.
Can I ask the clerk a question? Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Amy, do you utilize MTA services?
Not really.
Okay.
I mean, I get their newsletters and I read them and I pick things out of there that pertain to my office, but I don't contact them.
Okay.
I do tell the township clerks that they need to contact them for certain things, so you know, that's a good resource for them.
Okay. Thanks.
Yes, Mr. Walker.
The blog that I get on my tablet from MTA, I wish I could block it and delete it, because I don't care how much the sexton in one township cemetery gets paid in the UP compared to the sexton in a township cemetery in southern Michigan.
You can unsubscribe to that.
And that goes, and it goes on and on and on. You know,
I know, I think it's a daily, I get one at least once a day or something. Some of the reading is interesting, but
I do not like this type of an increase. You know, it's something that we didn't budget for, you know, when we budgeted at the beginning of the year. But I guess I can support it for 1 year with the personal statement that I wish that we would have had somebody locally telling us why that big increase and what's going on there. And I agree with the county administrator. The counties are the only ones getting this type of an increase.
Yeah, you would think if it was spread across all the members that, you know, your overall increase would be a little bit less, but, yeah. And I'm assuming, when you said you talked to Mary Lou, that that's, I mean, I don't know how many times she contacts them for legal advice, but that could be eaten up pretty fast, and.
She said they're very responsive and she contacts them quite often.
Yeah. So maybe I would agree that we kind of go through this year and see what happens. And any other comments, questions? All right, moving on. Administrator Biard, the county card discussion.
I was presented with some information with regards to a county car and was asked to place that on the agenda for discussion.
What we were looking after the last meeting, Paul and I talked a little bit because we've kicked this around with the county car. The county car helps us a lot with not paying mileage and everything for people that travel outside the area, and it was very worthwhile when we had one. So we reached out to Myers, and they had one on the lot, but then they gave us a price on the one on the lot, and they said, and it was a Malibu, 4-door Malibu, and then they said that they did not get incentives back from General Motors on that particular model. So we had to go with the LT1 instead of the LT2. They didn't get them, and Paul had actually talked to somebody there, and they said there was 4 of them available, and they gave us a price on them. Correct, Paul?
Correct.
And after I got that price, you know, the price looked reasonable, and I asked if they could, you know, told them to go ahead and give me a firm price on it, and I never heard anything back. That was last Thursday. I never heard anything back until today, and I stopped in and they said, well, there's no cars available. We can't trade into one for you right now.
No.
So I'm thinking that maybe we should just reach out to state contract and get a price on a vehicle from state contract. I like to buy locally, but if they can't find one for us, state contract is going to be less money. Maybe we need to reach out.
Sure.
I think Berger has a state contract for Chevrolets. I think we need to, you know, I'd like to see us reach out and get a price from there.
Okay. So at this point, there's no action on the resolution.
Unless you want to do a not to exceed allotment, or would you rather have the firm price and bring it back at the next, I can do that.
I'd rather have the firm price, I think.
Okay.
That's my opinion. I don't know how the rest of the board feels.
Yeah, I think it'd be good to have a firm price.
We've waited this long.
Okay.
Craig, I do have a couple questions. Just as I think about this, like I said, we have been kicking this around for a while. So just looking at the dollars and cents of it, do we, Tracy, I guess this would be a question for you, how much, say in a year, how much do we pay for mileage, and is there a way to determine how much of that would or could be, even a guesstimate, eliminated by having a county car available? Is there?
So overall for travel, it's roughly $28,000. $23,000 of that is general fund. But if you
So what does that mean?
So that means that's how much we're paying out in travel. We're paying out in travel pay. We're paying for gas, for the sheriff's department vehicles, for the drain commission vehicle, for maintenance vehicle. So if you reduced that on top of the committees that all the committees that we have, you're looking at a savings of roughly between $8,000 and $10,000 by having a county vehicle.
If we had a county car available. Okay.
And then on top of that, you need to look at the insurance, gas for that vehicle and maintenance.
Then one other, in Mr. Maloney left, he may have been a good one to ask. He has travel that probably frequently has some equipment involved. Would that, so I guess, you know, are there times where, okay, we have a county car available, whatever we buy, maybe it's not able to do the tasks necessary, whether it's equipment or whatever that needs to be transported to whatever, XYZ.
We have a county pickup that's available for that.
Is there?
Yes,
Okay.
there is.
All right.
I know when, an example I can give you that, the former manager, generator, a Honda generator for a ER trailer, and he bought it out of the area, and there was about $800 savings. He took a county pickup and
Okay.
picked it up.
Yep. And then policy-wise, so right now there's county pickups, but not, you know, so Phil and I need to go to Lake County for a Windsor Dick meeting. So right now, you know, we fill out a per diem and our mileage. And this isn't just for me, you know, Paul and Bob, you guys go to Cadillac. The clerk may have something, not just the Board of Commissioners, but if there's a county car available, then I assume the policy would be if I drive my own vehicle, I don't get mileage.
Correct.
That's a policy that the previous board had.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would stipulate it, you know, unless the car is already.
Right, if the
That's
car is not
right.
available, you know, and I guess the only concern that I have, okay, so I don't know, this doesn't really apply to my situation because I live 6 miles from the county building. It's not a big deal to drive in and get it. Say somebody lives, I don't know, let's just say Tracy has a county meeting in, I don't know, what's a town close to where you live in Clare?
Mount Pleasant?
Okay, in Mount Pleasant, does she have to drive all the way back to the county building, get a car to drive back to Mount Pleasant for a meeting? There's just some logistical things that I'm thinking through that I don't know. I don't know what the current policy is and how that plays out.
I can give you a very good example of that. When I sat on the forensic pathology board in Big Rapids, it didn't make any sense for me to drive from Rothbury to Hart to get a county car to go to Big Rapids.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but that was an arrangement that was made, you know, with the chairman of the board, the county administrator, on those unusual things. You know, Martha was the same way when Martha went to different meetings. The District 10 Health Department meeting is different because District 10 pays the mileage and per diem for us. We do not turn those in.
Sure.
You know, they pay those in Cadillac.
Okay.
But Martha, at times, she went to Northern Michigan Alliance or some other one, and if she went there, she did not drive back to get a vehicle from Hesperia.
Right.
Or it's a Windsor Dick meeting in Muskegon, and I drive up here to get a vehicle just to drive right back.
Right.
You know, to Muskegon. This doesn't make a lot of sense.
Right.
We found that the employees use the vehicle more than the elected people.
Yeah, and that makes sense because
Yeah.
you know.
I'm sorry. The elected department heads use the vehicle to go to conferences and stuff. They got used quite a bit with the elected department heads.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's times like a Windsor Dick meeting, if we're going to Muskegon, well, I may have 4 other stops I'm going to make, so I'm not going to take a county car in that case, you know, because I'm not going to use another person's vehicle to run my personal errands after a meeting, which I'm perfectly fine with that. I'd much rather pay and drive my own vehicle than drive a car. So, but
Tim, I was the same way before I retired. I never charged, because I did outside sales, I never charged mileage for anything.
Oh, yep.
Because I was doing outside sales and I would just do my sales stops along the way.
Right.
You know.
So I guess one thing for us to think through is just that $8,000 to $10,000 savings a year in the travel expenses versus the cost of the vehicle, insurance, fuel, maintenance. I guess I would want to make sure that it's a financially sound. On the flip side, you know, the liability of employees using personal vehicles for county business is a concern too.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I think you might have a lot of employees that would use the vehicle that really don't want to add mileage to their own personal vehicles.
Right, absolutely.
And don't have that option.
Right.
So.
I can tell you that I don't like driving my personal vehicle as a Cadillac all the time.
Sure. Mr. Erickson.
And this is replacing a vehicle that hit a deer, was a total loss.
Rear-ended on the expressway at an accident.
It was rough on all four corners, and it wasn't much. And I've talked to Amy many times. Bob and I have talked back and forth. We talked about what kind of vehicle, you know. I was set on a Traverse right off the bat just because of the size for grown adults to be in it rather than a smaller car. But you know, a car's a car. We're replacing a car, and Bob didn't want to see people using it to haul things because we do have a pickup truck if we do need it. But my greatest concern is what you brought up, is the liability of using personal vehicles for county business. We don't know what their tires look like. We don't know what their blinkers are working. We just don't know.
Right.
And nowadays a 20 grand car versus a $200,000 lawsuit, you know, it would come out of the ARPA money again. So it's not as though we've had to save all this money up. The ARPA money's almost gone. If there's a clawback on ARPA money, I hate to have them claw back, but the liability was the biggest thing that we talked about. Is it would alleviate that.
Yeah, good point. Anyone else?
If it pleases the other members, we'll get prices for the next meeting.
Fantastic. All right, moving on. Administrator's review of selected claims for payment and administrator's report.
Okay, the claims have been provided for you. Are there any questions on those? Okay. If not, I've provided, oh, go ahead.
Excuse me.
Yep.
For the board members, I did have a question. We had a bill that came through from R&R Trailers for damage to the emergency trailer for a little over $3,000. I think that should be insurance, and the administrator's going to check on that. That was turned into our insurance company. So I don't know that we're responsible for that. We're probably responsible for our deductible.
Yeah.
But I want to make
I'm
sure,
checking on it.
and maybe the sheriff would know too. That was turned into insurance, wasn't it, sir?
I believe it was.
Okay, I had called Brian this morning, and I'm sure he's extremely busy, but I was.
He had a late night last night.
Oh,
The
that,
late-
well, that would explain it.
The late night wandered on till like 5 a.m. So.
Oh,
he was gonna sleep in.
So I just asked that when we approve the bills, we hold up on that check till we get definition, whether it's gonna be paid by the insurance company.
Okay. Should
I'll
we
check it
approve the total amount then, or just add a comment?
We can approve all of them, but we'll need documentation before we issue that check.
Okay.
And then the administrator's report, I provided a report in the packet, but just some other items. I have a tour of the electric forest scheduled for Friday morning at 10:30.
Oh, you're so lucky.
For probably about an hour. I told him it can't be too long because I have a meeting at noon with 4 county administrators with regards to the materials management. We're meeting here in Oceana County, so we'll be talking about that.
Meet at the electric forest.
Yeah, there you go.
You should make that 10:30 p.m. though. You really get the feel of it.
Yeah, I bet. I
You
don't
get the
think
feel,
so.
all right.
So, yes, we're meeting tomorrow. Things are going well in the office. Jana will be starting on Monday with our first payroll, our next payroll. So,
Great.
Very good. Did you have a question, Paul?
I wanted to return back to what Connie Cargill said if I could right now, but Connie said Golden pays $3,500 a year MTA dues.
Oh.
So, she said that, it was too low for years, barely covers costs of the magazine. This is more in line with what townships pay. Golden pays about $3,500.
Oh, that's good to know.
So,
Thank you.
So, you know, that's what, and Connie's on the board.
It was just a bit of sticker shock, I guess,
Yeah.
you might say, so.
I'm getting sticker shock every day.
I understand. Yeah, so, right?
That's it.
Well, thank you.
All right, department head report? Sheriff?
Good morning. Good morning, Chair. You heard I made mention about Ryan's late night. Part of that, there was a self-induced, there was a fatality at the state park last night, suicide type of incident. Ryan came out as an MEI to investigate that. Then there was a fire at the campground, Hideaway Campground, and that sounds like the store. There was a total loss.
Oh, yeah.
And then Ryan stumbled onto a B&E in progress, so he assisted with that. So we got some extra patrol out of the undersheriff last night. Patrol has been busy. We've got 50 in jail right now. We've got a couple of festival people have come and gone already. We've got one in the front tank, and she's not happy to be there, which is fine. I wanted to let you know, late last week, Friday, I was contacted by Mark Olmsted from Shelby Schools and asked if I could be in a meeting early this week with them. So I did. Monday morning I met with Mark, Dean Rossler, and Brady, and they went on to explain that they had applied for a state police grant for a school resource officer for Shelby Village to participate with. Shelby Village is currently down to a chief and one patrolman, and they haven't had any applicants come in several months for an open position as a regular patrol. They're coming to the realization they're not going to be able to fill that grant position, and they'd like to know if there's any opportunity with us. I told them we too have staffing challenges that we're working through, but with that being said, I wanted to examine the situation a little further, but the first portion of that is I'm bringing this to you guys to let you know that we've been asked. They've been granted $67,000, so a decent amount towards a school resource officer. We've often thought about teaming this school resource officer with, if 9 months of the year could be in school and 3 months could be assigned to, say, Golden Township, where we also have a funding source that could cover that deputies for the rest of the year. It might be a nice working relationship there. But I wanted to bring this to you guys because of the situation at hand. I want you to know that this is a real fresh idea to us that Shelby has just contacted, and we're just bringing it to you guys so you're fully aware.
Yes.
Go ahead.
If I may, Sheriff, this isn't unique for your department. Roy Strait did it for years.
Absolutely. Yep.
You know, and it worked very well.
Yes.
Yes, Mr.
And we also have it in Hart.
They've got their person.
Hart
The
PD,
resource
yes,
officer,
Hart
yeah.
PD was able to man that position. Yes. So
Sheriff, do you know how long the term of the grant is?
I believe it's 3 years.
3 years.
Yes. So I'm just bringing that to you, just FYI, so you know what's kind of on our our forecast. I like to bring self-funded ideas if we can, and
Yeah.
that seems to work best with Mr. Walker and the gang. So there's a lot of funding there available for this. So
Absolutely.
any thoughts?
I have one question.
Yes.
Sir.
Do you know the round number to put a deputy on the road for a full year, wages, benefits, that type of thing? Rocky?
Yeah.
Or bring that later?
I guess I would either refer that to later or to Tracy, but
Sure.
I'm sure it's in the line of 120 something. That may.
That same number that was going through, bucket a quarter was going through my mind.
Right, it's a lot of money, but that's
A lot
what
of money.
all the fringe benefits
Right.
and
Yep.
and uniforms and et cetera, so
Mhm.
it's a lot of money.
Yes, Mr. Moore?
So with the school resource officer, they have to be MCOLS certified?
Yes.
I mean, they're a police officer.
They're a full empowered police officer, and there's specialized training for school resource officers. It just came through on the Sheriff's Association email today that there's some trainings available
Okay.
for a school resource officer. The school has a office area in the high school, and they've shared some thoughts how they'd like to see this work. They have an office area, they have a computer available. You know, Shelby High School is our biggest school in the county. You know, it'd be a great place to embed an officer, and I don't care what color uniform they're wearing. If they're wearing blue or if they're wearing brown, it's just a good theory to have an officer on scene.
Yes, Mr. Harris?
Well, and remember, Bill Bird was in the halls of Hart High for quite a while after he retired, and then Stacy's over there now, so.
Yep.
It's good to have someone in the halls, it really is, in this day and age now, there's so much going on that, you know, one word in the right place might save a lot of grief.
Yep.
Well,
Absolutely.
The other key for this is the chief of police at Shelby was at the meeting and said, we can't do it.
Right.
So it's just a joint venture between all the interested parties. And-
Yes.
And
Yeah.
if the sheriff can make it work, good for
Yeah.
the sheriff.
So as we move forward, you know, if we need to hire for that position, or I'll try to keep you informed as fully as I can, or as up to date as possible.
Appreciate that.
Okay, any
Good.
other questions for me?
May I?
Yes.
Sir.
I was reading about, and we have some time this morning.
Yep.
So I was reading about